You were at Canucks morning skate today. Like where do you want to start, Chris? Because
Brock Boeser, we're starting there.
We have to start there, right? Like we have to start with Brock Boeser, and I want to get the timeline of events right because there's been a lot of misconceptions, and I think people are just a little bit confused about the actual timeline.
I've seen a lot of people come out and say, and by the way, this is not what has happened, but I've seen this a lot of people saying Brock Boeser has requested a trade.
Exactly.
That has not happened. I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, so I'll give you the timeline, folks. I'll break it down. So on Saturday night, Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts segment on Hockey Night in Canada brings out the report that Brock Boeser's agent Ben Hankinson has been given permission to talk to other teams to help facilitate a trade for his client Brock Boeser from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, this obviously made people think, well, Brock wants out. Thomas Drance and Rick Dhaliwal of The Athletic reporting over the weekend that these conversations of let's do what's best for Brock and figure out if there's a future for him here in Vancouver or if it's somewhere else, those conversations dated back to before Boeser signed his 3-year extension with an annual average value north of $6 million this past offseason. Those conversations have been happening since then. Now, season starts. They've got Andrei Kuzmenko. They've got Ilya Mikheyev. That was the best line in hockey for a decent stretch there.
2 weeks.
Brock Boeser found himself on the outside looking in immediately out of training camp, a season where he said he had 30-goal aspirations and that this was the year he was going to hit 30 goals. Hey, look, you look at his rates. He scored at a 30-goal pace every single season he's played in the NHL. He's never actually done it because he's always had injury problems. Gets hand surgery right out of surgery. He's not able to play right out of training camp. I don't want to say he rushed back, but he came back earlier than was originally anticipated. Doesn't play well. Reopens the scar on his hand from his surgery and has to go back on the IR. Comes back from IR. Has like a, 9-game point streak that it got up to?
Something like that.
Little 2-goal performance in there as well. You love to see it. Was good when he came back. Well, he was all right. I'd say the points are a little bit misleading there. I wouldn't characterize all his performances there as great.
He wasn't back to being Brock Boeser.
Yeah, he wasn't shooting. A lot of those were assists. A lot of those were secondary assists. Still playing well enough. I get it. But comes back after that, after reopening his scar or whatever. Doesn't look like himself, even though he's putting up some points. He's got 15 points through 19 games on the year at the time of this recording. Saturday night rolls along. And again, you wrote about this in the Monday mailbag over at Canucks Army, has the worst defensive metrics of any forward in the NHL right now.
Yeah, he's not benefiting from great goaltending on the ice in front of him as well. But if you take that out of the scenario here for him not having great defensive numbers, he's 4th worst in the NHL for expected goals against per 60. And if you're actually just talking about straight up goals, like goals against per 60, no player in the entire NHL has a worse goals against per 60 than Brock Boeser. So yes, there have been some questions about his play defensively for sure.
So this all culminates and becomes a healthy scratch for Brock Boeser. Now, Brock wasn't happy about this. Friedman reported this, and again, Boeser pointed at it himself on Saturday. He said, I came in and saw on the whiteboard that, I was going to be a healthy scratch and it hurt bad. That's what he said. The full quote's in the scenes from Morning Skate from today against the Montreal Canadiens. But basically what happened is Brock found out he was a healthy scratch by looking at the whiteboard. Friedman was reporting this part. This wasn't something Brock said, to be clear. Friedman was reporting that Brock was upset about that Brock was mad that nobody told him face-to-face. No coach, no one from the coaching staff told him that he was a healthy scratch. He just came in, saw it on the whiteboard, and that was that. But, again, that's usually how healthy scratches are delivered, right? But, again, you would expect, I think it's safe to say Brock was probably expecting to be told to his face, a guy who hasn't sat since the 2017-18 season. Again, he talked about how it was a horrible feeling that he never wants to have happen again and how he put the onus on himself. He said, I can't let it happen again.
Yeah, I can't imagine listen, Brock talked about it. It was a very emotional day for him. Can you
circled on his calendar?
And circled on his calendar, but also coming into the locker room, seeing the lineups on the board, seeing all of the Hockey Fights Cancer stuff in your locker, and
his dad's name on the back of his jersey.
Yeah, and then you look up to the board and you're not there. Wow, that's bigger than hockey to me. And it's I get that maybe you could think about scratching Brock Boeser for a game from his play. You don't do it in that game.
And Bruce said afterwards that he didn't know that it was Hockey Fights Cancer Day. And if we're going to take Bruce at his word there, which I'm fine doing. I'm fine doing that.
There was a lot of purple stuff around the rink for days.
Sure. But how much have we heard about internal communication being absolutely awful with this organization, right? How much have we heard about that over the years? right? Like from players to everybody in between.
And all the players talked about how much, they were so happy for him on such a special night for Brock, or such an important night for Brock. And yeah, you brought it up, like him having that day circled on his calendar. To steal Bo Horvat's quote, like pretty unacceptable, I think, for the whole situation that played out with him.
Brock and Bo didn't say it was unacceptable that they scratched him. You're just saying that Bo says the word a lot. I'm
stealing the quote. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
have to clarify that.
Yeah, it was a tough day. Like, and then on top of that, with like the healthy scratch situation, with him finally getting into the lineup, with Joshua being injured and out of the lineup, and then just like that night is the night where Elliot Friedman reports that his agent's going out and talking. Like, what a day for Brock Boeser to kind of go through in that situation. Like, this isn't a guy who's been in the same spot that Brock Boeser's been in throughout his whole career with the Vancouver Canucks. He's not riding shotgun with Elias Pettersson this season. He is tonight, which is, a lot of people are very excited about, and they should be. But like, what a day for that guy to deal with. And this is a guy who's been through a lot. I think Brock Boeser is an extremely strong human being with what he's had to deal with so much, and only being at the age of 25 years old, everything that he's had to go through. Like, what a tremendously strong human to go through this. I don't think this is the thing that's going to break him or anything, but to hear him, like, I don't know, just the way that you hear him talk about, like, I don't want to let the team down. And I'm just like, I just think, like, yeah, I get it. Like, that's the thing that a hockey player has to say, but just felt bad for Brock Boeser, like, having to say that quote about, like, I understand why, and I hate letting the team down. It's like, no, dude, you being healthy scratch for that game is not you letting the team down, right? And he said he doesn't want to let that happen again. Alex, can we pull up the quote from Boudreau that I got on Twitter? Just like the photo one before we get to the audio here. But I just wanted to bring up this one. This is what Boudreau said when I went to practice on Sunday and was the only media member there. He said, actually, no, I feel bad. Woodley, you love Kevin Woodley. I like Kevin Woodley a little bit. So he showed up and he was late and they didn't practice. Big whole shenanigan. Him and Harm, they missed media. But this is what Boudreau said about Brock Boeser on Sunday. He said, we'll talk. We talk all the time. It's just a matter of when I get a hold of him and when I think it's appropriate time. There's no air to clear. Every game, every team has a healthy scratch. I've got to believe he was just ours last night. And are you eating rice again? You're not eating.
Yeah.
Put the rice away.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, I can hear it between your teeth pushing around on the
mic.
No,
you can't.
Yeah, the mic picks it up.
No,
okay, Alex, can we get to the audio here? Actually, we have both audio of today. Brock Boeser talking about it to see if Bruce and Brock are on the same page. Shout out to Farhan Lalji of TSN asking the same question to Brock Boeser and Bruce Boudreau. You'll hear it here in the quote. We'll do the Boeser one first, Alex, so you can go ahead and I'll give you a few seconds to set this up here. But it'll be Boeser talking about if him and Bruce are on the same page. Here's Brock Boeser talking about it.
You think the two of you are on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't be. At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is get wins, and he's trying to get wins, and he's trying to push our team to be better, and I got to push myself to be better, and I think it's a learning experience, and obviously I never want to be put in that position again, and I don't want to let my teammates down.
Classy answer from Brock.
Yeah. I wonder what he was learning in that learning experience.
Yeah. And okay, because we have to talk about the future of Brock Boeser, because obviously, like, we've hardly even touched.
Let's hear the Boudreau, because Boudreau got asked the same question. I want to hear
today.
It's quick, yeah. So let's hear that, and then we'll react to that. I'll give Alex 7 seconds to get it ready. Alex, pressure's on. Listen, I used to be a radio producer myself. I get it. It takes a few seconds to get to the audio. Alex, you got Bruce Boudreau talking about it with the same question here. I'll let you run that now.
Do you feel that the two of you and Brock are on the same page?
I think he's ready to play.
A little bit of a different answer.
Sorry?
There.
Was that really what he said?
Bruce Boudreau said it. Yeah, when asked if they're on the same page, he said, I think he's ready to play. And that was it. That was all Boudreau had to say about them being on the same page.
You feel that the two of you and Brock are on the same page?
I think he's ready to play.
But that wasn't the question. It wasn't, is Brock ready to play?
Yeah, so take what you want from that.
Yeah,
that was.
I'm not going to tell
we're
people
not making
how
up. We're not making up our thoughts on the situation. We're playing you the audio that Bruce Boudreau said when asked if they're on the same page. So take what you want from there. I think when agents get involved, it makes things a little bit messy for coaches, for management.
And I
for
feel like we've
time.
hardly even talked about that. Like, we've hardly even talked about the fact that the agent's involved and that they're looking for a trade, because look like
Oh, sorry, they're helping facilitate a trade. That's what
Yes.
that's the situation.
yes, and Brock hasn't requested a trade per se. He just wants, the agent and management are looking, at the future of the team and seeing that, okay, maybe
Sure. No, the agent's looking out for his client. That's what agents do. Right?
But
That's what
also,
the agent is in
the
this
team
spot.
is looking at it and saying, hey, we need cap space. Our captain, we'd like to re-sign him or whatever, right? Like, the organization wants cap space, right? And they're looking at some of the assets that they have that, could maybe get you something on the trade market. Like, keep in mind, and I think it was Dranson Dollywell that reported this, that there's an internal understanding with the Canucks that whatever return they get on these Pearson, Garland, Boeser, Myers, OEL, whatever they offload, including Boeser, the return isn't going to be great. Like, remember, Bjorkstrand in Seattle went for a third and a fourth. Does Brock get you a third and fourth right now?
Yeah, he does.
Does he? For
Yep.
sure?
Mhm.
You're confident saying that.
Here's-
Who's giving up a third and a fourth to get Brock Boeser? Hang
we'll
on.
get to it later in the
Has
show.
the room to fit him in on their books.
We'll get to it later in the show. Florida, Boston, New York Islanders.
Yeah.
I'll explain it later in the show when we start to talk about the rebuild a little bit more. I got some players to bring up.
Well, the main thing I want to talk about is just that, we're at this point now where the team's looking to offload salary cap, or like offload salary to free up some space, right? And they're looking at, not getting the best of returns in order to do so. It just, like, your team
you
that...
can't just trade Brock for a fourth, though.
No.
You have to take money back.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah. So, like, thinking that is you don't trade Brock Boeser for a third round pick and money. You trade Brock Boeser for a first round pick and money because of the value of them getting rid of that contract boosts Brock Boeser's value in his own right.
So
because
I don't know, man. Like,
no, you're not trading it for bad money and only like a mid-round pick. That's not how bad money works in the NHL.
Yeah. So how much bad money are you willing to take back?
Well, the team, what you're hoping, you can take back a lot. I think you can take back up to $6 million with Brock Boeser's contract going the other way, because the other team that's going to acquire Brock Boeser isn't looking at him as bad money. They're probably looking at a player who has 15 points in 19 games and is going to hop into their top six and be a guy that they use on their first power play unit, right? Like, that's what Brock Boeser's potential is. And if he's healthy and he's playing good and probably has a new environment to have just a new look on the NHL, he's not going to return you. Like, think about it. You just mentioned, like, what does Brock get you, a third or a fourth? Not if you're attaching bad money to it.
Sure.
$4 million worth of bad money is in the territory of a second to first round pick.
So you want bad money that expires at the end of this year?
Sure. Or next year.
Well, next year.
Because if you're returning it for like a good pick in a situation.
Sure, but you have to have a plan, because if the idea of, let's get rid of Brock so we can free up space to sign Bo Horvat, hey, bud, that extension kicks in next year. They need that space next year.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, your bad money that you're, talking about them taking back, all of a sudden it becomes less valuable because it's only for 1 year instead of 2 or whatever, right? And again,
but it's more valuable if you're taking a 2-year deal. That's what I'm saying. If you get a contract on 2 years,
but they're not going to do that if you're not going to be able to free up more, or
they should be freeing up more. They should
absolutely, yeah. But again, it's just this cycle, right? Like, they're going to
then get out of the cycle. Get out of the cycle of thinking that Horvat has to be re-signed,
that's my
right?
point. That's my point, and it's been what I've been saying all along.